A Florida doctor active in the anti-Obama Tea Party movement has apologized and has pledged to stop participating in conservative anti-healthcare reform efforts after he was caught circulating a photoshopped picture of President Obama portrayed as an African witch doctor with a bone through his nose. The photo, which we will not show on this program so as to save you from having to bleach your eyeballs later, was captioned Obamacare with the C in the word care formed into a hammer and sickle. Get it? He's an African witch doctor with a bone through his nose because he's black, like really black, and also he's a Soviet communist at the same time. It's very subtle and very complicated. As, frankly, is a lot of the expressed opposition to reforming health care, even by people who aren't supposed to be just Tea Party kooks and guys holding signs on street corners.
Does President Obama's health care plan represent socialism?
Yes. Next question.
See, he's very sure about that. He can move right on. He's very sure that reforming health care is socialism, even if he's not actually all that sure what healthcare policy is.
I don't do policy. I'm not a legislator.
Don't let that stop you from talking about it anyway. The opposition to reforming healthcare isn't the most cogent thing in the world thus far. The GOP Healthcare Solutions Group in Congress, you will recall, admitted this week that they think it's best if they don't actually offer any healthcare solutions. They'd rather just keep saying no to whatever it is the Democrats are offering, no matter what it is. But in this rollicking, substance-free festival of incoherence, there is one man who is determined to be the most incoherent of all. Little known outside his home state for anything other than having beautiful hair and for threatening to secede from the Union back in April, Texas Governor Rick Perry is now threatening that Texas will also secede from health care. I told you it was incoherent. Speaking with a conservative talk show host yesterday on WBAP in Arlington, Texas, Governor Perry had this to say about what he wants to secede from next.
It really is a state issue, and if there was ever an argument for the 10th Amendment and for letting states find the solutions to their problems, this may be at the top of the class.
You know who's at the top of his class? A guy who brags about how health care is really one of those issues where the states ought to find their own solutions, when he's the governor of the state that has more uninsured people than any other state in the entire country. 1 in 4 Texans doesn't have health insurance, Governor Rick. Health coverage is 10 points worse in Texas than it is in the rest of the country. Governor Rick, you've been governor for 9 years there. How you doing finding a solution for Texas's healthcare problem, Governor? You've got the most expensive healthcare markets in the country and the least number of people insured. And you're worried the federal government's going to screw up the good thing you've got going on in Texas? You need to protect Texas's healthcare system that you're doing such an awesome job with from the people you think might really screw it up? Let the states find their own solution? You've had 9 years, Governor. You're the worst in the country. How are you doing with that? Sorry, I almost never do that. Try to never do it. Come on. Sorry. Now, to allow a cooler head to prevail, we are joined by Lou DuBose, who is editor of The Washington Spectator and co-author of Bill of Wrongs, the executive branch's assault on America's fundamental rights. Lou, I apologize for my outburst. Thank you very much for joining us.
I just regret being described as a cooler head, but let's go.
Well, please tell me that I'm just misunderstanding this somehow. Please tell me there's some secret Texas speak at work here that I just don't understand.
There is. This is line item secession. We are going to secede on on certain policy issues and not total secession. It's Governor Perry refining his position. You know, a little more seriously, it was 107 in Dallas yesterday. It's 105 in Austin today. It's the dog days of summer. There's a political campaign impending. Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison is preparing to run against Governor Perry. That's a problem for him because he doesn't quite know how to run against her. But in Texas, there are proven formulas. You run for God against gays, you run against Washington, and you run for guns. He's going to spend the summer running against Washington and running against Obamacare, as he's calling it, to try to associate Kay Bailey Hutchison, Senator Hutchison, with Washington.
Well,
she is in Washington.
She is, so that's convenient, right. I suppose. But I mean, I know that he likes to make a show about this Texas independent stuff, but it never really seems to work out for him. I mean, he is the governor. He's not just doing this as a gadfly. In March, he said he was rejecting $500 million in unemployment money. Then the state had to go back and not only take what he rejected, but ask for more beyond that. He said this spring he wanted Texas to secede from the union. Then he had to say he didn't really mean that. One would think he was sort of going back to this well over and over again because it was working for him. From outside the state, it doesn't feel like it is. Is it in Texas?
It's hard to tell. But the answer is probably yes. You know, the governor. It's a ribbon cutting position. It's very difficult for the governor to, when the legislature is not in session, for the governor of Texas to get any attention. So he is going to use the summer to run on these issues. I mean, if you consider his last legislative session, he had several big agenda items. One was a Choose Life license plate on which he won. The other was this 10th Amendment resolution to restate the primacy of the states, which he lost even in the Texas legislature. The other was the defeat of SCHIP, the Children's Health expansion of SCHIP, which was children's health insurance. He won that. They defeated SCHIP. And the other was the $550 million in stimulus money that he returned, only to borrow $170 million later. You know, it makes no sense, but it's good copy, and it's the dog days of summer. He's terrified of Kay Bailey Hutchison, who will run a smart campaign against them. And hey, we're Texas. I mean, we do things differently here.
But just to be clear, he is politically doubling down on the Texas sovereignty secession stuff while he couldn't even get his 10th Amendment gimmick sovereignty thing through the Texas state legislature.
Oh, don't call it a gimmick. He was deadly serious about it, and so were a half dozen legislators. And Rachel, there's also, I mean, there's a states' rights argument here that goes right back to Orville Faubus and George Wallace, and there's a subtext to this that has to do with as much to do with race as Skip Gates being dragged from his house in Cambridge, and the ensuing controversy. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to get elected, and he's in a tough race. I mean, as you pointed out, we lead the nation. I mean, we're Mississippi with good roads. We lead the nation in uninsured adults and uninsured children. Yet he fought valiantly to stop the expansion of SCHIP for Texas children. It's Texas, and an important thing to note is he is fighting for the Texas base. That's 600,000 voters and a state of 23 million who will turn out and vote in a Texas primary. So that's when you think of the national Republican base, distill it down to real crazies in Texas, and it's an extremist base that he's got to nail down before Kay Bailey Hutchison, Senator Hutchison, starts spending money.
Lou DuBose, editor of the Washington Spectator, co-author of the book Bill of Wrongs: The Executive Branch's Assault on America's Fundamental Rights, and a brave and probably a little schwitzy man given the heat tonight. Lou, thanks very much for taking time.
Thank you, and he was an Eagle Scout.
Oh, very good. Very important. Thank you.